Hello, Bobby Jones here from Midas Touch and Valor Media Networks. Over the course of the last year, I've been giving you candidate interviews for people who will be running for Congress here in the 2026 midterm elections. And the thought and the hope is you get to see people in the United States who understand the crisis of the moment. People who in particular have worn the uniform either in the military or public service who continue to execute that oath. Today is no different. I interviewed Bale Dalton, a man who, since he was 18 years old, has decided to be about others instead of himself. And he is running against someone who, quite honestly, is everything wrong with the current state of America. He's running for United States Congress in Florida's 7th District. And here is the interview that I think you need to hear. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Anchor Watch. I'm your humble host, Bobby Jones, and we have a very rare treat for you. The two things that we try to bring you on this show are subject matter experts and those who are willing to put themselves out there as leaders to reshape the direction of the country. And we have someone who's been doing it for a very long time, first in uniform and now trying to do it outside of uniform. Mr. Bale Dalton, who's running for the United States Congress in Florida's 7th District. And we'll get into his opponent here in a little bit. But I just want to say first, thank you, Bale, for coming on and being that guy willing to step up in a time of, leadership crisis, in my opinion.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. I mean, obviously, you've done it yourself. And, I would be remiss right at the start to not say go Navy. A couple of Annapolis guys here on the screen today. Appreciate that leadership trial that we went through, as college students, trying to get us ready for the real world, which became very real, of course, just immediately after your graduation and the first semester of my senior year there with September 11th. Our classes in particular were out there a lot quicker than we thought we would be, trying to protect our homeland from threats abroad. So obviously, my thanks to you. Yeah, we could talk a little bit about how we came up, right? So I just want to touch a little bit about that. So we both went through late 90s, early 2000s, and what's interesting is none of us really knew what the heck was on the other side. Right. President Bush was at our graduation, and he told us, hey, we don't know what the future holds, but you need to be prepared for it. And he was right. How did not just Annapolis, but the extensive Navy career? I mean, you hit the major wickets of service. As a matter of fact, the Academy's mission statement at the end there is all about command, citizenship, and government, and you are now hitting all three wickets. What was it about being in the Navy, starting in Annapolis and then going to the fleet, that prepared you for this? Yeah, well, like I said, public service has really been ingrained in me ever since coming up, in my family and with my parents. And, especially post September 11th, I got a chance. I was a helicopter pilot, did search and rescue, participated in the Hurricane Katrina relief even before my first deployment. So, life was real very quick, for your class and mine, as well as others, of course. And I was actually part of the first overland medical evacuation unit that the Navy had ever since, really Vietnam. And so, again, we were in it quick. And, by extension, I got a lot of overland flight time, goggle time, combat time, and I got picked up by the Navy's Special Operations Support Helicopter Squadron. So went back to Iraq, multiple times flying against the terrorist cells there. And then in the last tour that I had in my active duty time, I was with Naval Special Warfare Group 1, the SEALs on the ground in Afghanistan, providing forward air control. But to answer your question, and then, then I went into the reserves, still in the reserves to this day, actually mobilized to take command of the Navy Special Operations Support Helicopter Squadron. So you know how it goes, when you spend that time, first you're a follower, right, and a learner. And you really have to keep your eyes and ears open for those folks who have, different experiences than you or more experiences than you. And, put those all into, the learning lab that is life in the Navy, with folks that have come up in different ways, think about things differently. And, that was the great part about my Navy service, again, which continues in the reserve, is, this is what you can do when you've got everybody rowing together and headed for a particular mission, sometimes putting disagreements and differences aside to find compromise, but really having everybody that's, put their life and livelihood on the line to achieve success. And, I was blessed to have some success throughout the Navy and leading teams, and in really taking care of, the sailors and officers that were under my care as a commanding officer. So I think all of those things that I've got to experience in the Navy, certainly helped, make me who I am, and only further ingrained in me the need that we have for, selfless leaders, right? It sounds a little self-aggrandizing, right, to say that, but that's what we learned from our mentors. And that's what we learned from our sailors as well, that, that unselfish leadership, that making sure that the mission is achieved and that everybody's skill set is used in the right way. And, it doesn't matter who gets the credit, so long as, things are done in the way that gets the mission accomplished. I think that was, highly beneficial to creating, this person that I am today.
No, I think you hit on some very, very salient points. Number one, leadership is not about you; it's about everybody else, right? And that is something that when people are polled about Congress, the first thing they say is they don't think Congress cares about them, right? And so that leads me into, when you look and see the landscape politically in the United States, what do you see and what bothers you about it?
Yeah, I think you nailed it already. I think what bothers me most about it seems like the politicians in D.C. are really, more focused on themselves, whether it's their own livelihood or their bank account or, what power means to them or fame means to them. I see a lot of people, in whatever shape or form, get up into, Congress or our political leadership and seem to forget, who put them there in the first place, to give them that faithful representation to our federal government. And in my case, running for U.S. House, that folks need and deserve. And, the longer you have that gap in between being self-serving and serving the people, who put you there, the further you get removed from these things that are really affecting people. And, here in Seminole and Volusia County in Central Florida, we've got folks that are struggling, my friends, family, neighbors, trying to, figure out how to make ends meet, desperately hoping and praying that they're not going to get sick or hurt and miss time on work because they can't afford health insurance premiums in order to get back to work or get themselves well and taking care of their families and small businesses. So I think, you said it at the top. I think that is the most concerning thing to me, is we've got politicians in D.C. who just, create this distance between themselves and the folks that they're supposed to serve. And, that's the exact opposite of what we need to be happening.
You nailed it in many respects. And you brought up something I want to really dive into. The affordability crisis America is facing. And it's not just putting food on the table. We're talking healthcare. We're talking across the spectrum, right? As far as you're concerned, how you see things, what is Congress not getting? Is Congress so disconnected that they don't understand? Because I know here in Georgia, just one state up, we got people who are losing homes, farms, and cannot afford healthcare.
Yeah, I don't know what's in the water up there that's causing people to forget these things, right? Because like I said, it's real for me. It's my family. I was born and raised here in Central Florida. My family lives here still, as obviously I do, here in Sanford, Florida. And, this seemingly commitment to talk about anything else other than, what folks really need their representatives to be taken care of is mind-boggling to me. Congress can absolutely, the health insurance problem, right now with the ACA subsidies expiring, that is a crisis of Congress's own making. They could decide that tomorrow if folks would stand up and do the right thing for their constituents.